and host unemployed graduates focusing in AI and software development skills is immensely encouraging for a country such as ours, as we are experiencing this high rate of unemployment. This comprehensive training will not only prepare young people for jobs in high-tech industries, it will also facilitate self-employment. As you and I met with Lebu 5 years ago, he was a student, or he had just completed his master's at the Tshwane University of Technology, and we have seen the development or the progress that he has in this product, or this to Softmeet, and he has now employed other unemployed youth, especially students that are coming from the same university where he graduated at the Tshwane University of Technology. So the contribution to the new generation of tech and software entrepreneurs that will bring innovation and high-tech solutions that support economic growth and enhance our country's competitiveness, it lies here to the leaders that are here, and also to our collaboration with all the players in this digital agenda. Softmeet's commitment to supporting South Africa's transition to a high-tech economic, it comes at a pivotal time where the country is hosting the G20. Our country and continent has a huge potential, and driven by the talents and energies of our young people specifically. It is up to all of us working in partnership to ensure that AI and its associated technologies do not deepen the technology divide, but it narrows it. So we are very excited to be part of this journey with you, Softmeet, especially to you, Lebu, and the team. We are looking forward to our continuous partnership as an entity, and we wish you all the best. I thank you.
Thank you so much. I was about to indicate that, ma'am, 5 minutes left, but thank you so much for such an amazing presentation and the work that MICT CETA does, specifically with entrepreneurs. With the level of unemployment in our country, we really need to innovate. Entrepreneurs are a serious need. And thank you so much. And I really do appreciate Softmeet for actually playing a role in also fighting unemployment. Now, we're going to call our next speaker. And please, you must please clap your hands. Clap your hands. Because if you don't clap your hands, I will know. I'll speak to the guys from the kitchen. And I'll tell them, see, this man, don't. Please put your hands together as we welcome the Deputy Director General, Umlindo Sholongu, from the Department of Communication and Digital Technology. Please let's clap our hands as we welcome.
Thank you, Program Director. I must confess that I'm a Chiefs fan, Program Director. And a Man United fan. Distinguished guests, partners in innovation, members of media, I'm hoping there's youth that is in here, and our entrepreneurs, good afternoon. Yeah, as I stand before you this Friday, colleagues, and I noticed that theme on the invite, it says Smart Tech Chic. I tried to use generative AI, everything to find what that one means, but I decided that, hey, I think it's going to be outside of my area, of work. But I think I decided that, okay, no, let me just be ready for the weekend, But I think, colleagues, we just have to be honest that, with the way the technology is evolving, on a lighter note, I wouldn't be surprised if one day our clothes could handle our Friday workload for us. Imagine, your jacket, that writes your report, the shoes that sends your emails, or the scarf that politely tells you your boss you've already logged off for the weekend. But unfortunately, I'm not wearing one of those, colleagues, today. But I'm here to talk about the real innovation that is changing how we connect and communicate. It therefore is an honor for me, colleagues, to join you today on this prestigious event as well, and also to celebrate the official launch of our homegrown innovation with the power to transform our lives, which is the Softmeet. But colleagues, we are gathered here not just to witness the launch, but to witness the possibilities that are being made here today. We know that the communication is the lifeblood of our modern society. It is how we access the opportunities, how we build relationships, and how we express our voices, and how we participate in education, business, and health, and in governance. But also we must confront the persistent challenge, one that our government takes very seriously, the digital divide. I think the speaker that spoke to me before me spoke about that in terms of the digital divide. So despite the progress in broadband rollout and digital infrastructure, too many South Africans, especially in our rural villages, I happen to come from one of those areas, colleagues. Peri-urban areas and informal settlements, they still remain excluded from meaningful digital participation due to data poverty and limited access. In many cases, something as basic as sending a message, sharing an idea, or joining a group chat remains an unaffordable luxury. And it is that where Softmeet changes this narrative. Here we have a proudly South African innovation, a cloud-based social communication platform built specifically for low data environments with a full suite of social media functions, post stories, live interactions, and messaging, most notably a real-time data-free chat feature. Softmeet is doing something extraordinary. It removes the barriers of data altogether. It brings connectivity within the reach of every South African, but also it ensures that cost is no longer a barrier for participation. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is not just innovation, it's impact, it's justice, and it's digital liberation. Softmeet is not another social app in an already crowded market space. It's a platform with a purpose, one built by South Africans for South Africans. As Mr. Morosani, the visionary CEO behind Softmeet, rightly said so, Softmeet isn't just an app, it's a platform for empowerment. Thank you, Mhlekazi, for doing this. Whether it's a learner in the remote areas of Mpumalanga who needs to coordinate a school project, spaza shop owner in Soshanguve who needs to advertise special to customers, or a youth leader in the Eastern Cape trying to mobilize the community, Softmeet gives them the tools to do so without the burden of the cost. In short, it brings the dignity and agency into digital lives of those who have been often too overlooked. But also, colleagues, these initiatives, it's coming from one of the initiatives on the government that we started a couple of years ago, which is a Digitech program. Digitech is not just a platform, it's a national commitment to identifying, nurturing, and elevating digital solutions that are locally developed, socially relevant, and globally scalable. Softmeet is a shining example of what is possible when government supports innovation, not just in words, but with strategic action. It's a proof that we believe in South African talent. When we invest in our local developers and ICT SMMEs, we unlock the solutions that are tailored to our realities, not borrowed from others. I'm also deeply encouraged by Softmeet's rollout plan, starting with community activation events across Gauteng and Mpumalanga, in schools, malls, TVET colleges. The team is bringing this innovation directly to the people it is designed to serve. This is very critical, colleagues. We must meet the people where they are. We must not wait for the communities to come to the innovation. We must take the innovation to them. But also, colleagues, I just want to highlight that we often talk about the fourth industrial revolution in the digital economy. Softmeet is translating the big ideas into the tangible realities, one message, one post, one digital interaction at a time. It is therefore democratizing the access and redefining inclusion. Colleagues, as I close, I just want to say that, today's launch is more than just a tech milestone, it's a call for action. To the private sector, I've seen a couple of the other partners in private sector, partner with the platforms like Softmeet, invest in local innovation, the schools and innovators, schools and educators to introduce learners to this tool, make digital engagement part of everyday learning, social enterprises and community groups. We need to use this platform to amplify your work and connect more meaningfully. And to our fellow citizens and young people, download it, use it, share it, be part of the new wave of tech empowerment. Softmeet is South African, it's local, it's powerful. It belongs to all of us. Together we can build a country where no child, no entrepreneur, no dreamer is left offline. Let's build a connected, empowered, and digitally inclusive South Africa, starting right here, colleagues. Diabulela, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, one thing I like about our speakers, they are short. It means that we are about to go on a break very, very soon, but not yet. Before we call our next speaker, let me just ask a question. Does anyone here know what does IBM mean, or what does it stand for? Don't Google. Yo, don't don't Google, right? All right, yeah. These are just interesting things to find out, right? I had no idea that IBM is International Business Machine. Growing up, just IBM. But because of being here at Innovation Hub, I had to quickly check what is IBM before the speaker asked me, hey, what does IBM stand for? With that being said, let's put our hands together as we welcome Kevin Govender from IBM South Africa. Sir? Thank you so much. Before you start, are you a Chiefs fan? Because the last speaker, just messed things up for me.
My wife is more a soccer fan than me. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to be here. I think it's a proud moment for Lebakang and the Softech company. We had the privilege last week of listening to another two black South Africans, young 20-year-olds that actually developed a new app. And I think it's just an inspiration to just see the talent that we have in South Africa. We hear a lot of bad things in the press, but these are the things you want to actually spend more time and celebrate. So firstly, Lebakang, it's great to be here. I think we're all here to celebrate you and the launch of Softmeet. Just to give you a quick background, my name is Kevin Govender. I'm an executive partner at IBM. IBM, for those of you who don't know, is International Business Machine, as our MC has just pointed out. It started off, I think, typewriters many, many years ago. It's been in existence for over 110 years. In South Africa, we've survived the last 72 years. We are proud to be a BE Level 1 company, and we've achieved BE Level 1 status for the last 7 years as well. And I think we take it quite seriously because it's these types of opportunities to be able to invest in the people in South Africa so that we can actually grow and give you an opportunity to be able to become entrepreneurs and actually to build your company so that we can increase the employment in South Africa. From an IBM perspective, as I mentioned, we've been in South Africa for over 72 years. We also spend about $6.5 billion on research and innovation. And that's quite important. We partner with the universities in South Africa. So we have a research hub that is available. And I'm sure, Lebakang, you spent some time there. It's in collaboration with the universities. And part of that is to be able to look and see what are the skills that are required in the country and how we can develop them. So some of the key focuses we focus on today is AI, artificial intelligence. I think every conversation you go now, people are talking about AI and the value it can bring. There's the resistance about the impact on jobs. But my view, coming from a technologist, AI and people will always exist. We need to embrace it. Hybrid cloud is another big area where technology is moving, and quantum computing, the ability to actually find answers to solutions at speed. You know, it takes a long time to develop vaccines, for example, but if you've got quantum computing, it has the ability to speed up that process. So I'm going to try and give you more time so you don't as well. But I think two of the key things that we do, we have what we call the Skills Build program in South Africa. The idea is, it's throughout the world, the idea is to train 30 million people by 2030. That Skills Build program is available to anybody that is a client of IBM or a recipient of the grants. So we spend a lot of effort in that, and what we try to do with those programs, and it's quite important, we provide you to curriculums where you can certify yourself. I think that's the one important thing. But the other part we do is the CSI, which is the corporate social investment, focus on STEM education and digital skills. And I think what's important with that, there's a lot of people who have great ideas, but how do you take that idea and scale it? And that's where we come in. So we've helped SoftTech, we've been involved with SoftTech from 2022. I'm not going to tell you how much we invested in them, but beside the financial investment, there's other areas. Firstly, spaces where you can come to our lab and use the incubation lab, that's one. Secondly, where you get to talk to different people for mentorship and coaching, but also to understand when you build an organization, you need to be able to scale it. It's very, very important how you put business plans together, how you employ more people. So that's some of the skills that we also teach so that you can actually have an organization that allows sustainability and build in resilience to be able to prosper and grow the organization. So if you look at South Africa, I think the challenge we have, we all know that the cost of data is still very expensive. We also know that smartphones have become cheaper, but also the accessibility to data. So I think this is where we get an organization like Softmeet that has actually been able to go out there and develop a virtual communications platform that is able to bring communities together, people together, whether it's video calling or on a normal call. But the beauty of this, where we have limited access to data, they've actually partnered with companies to be able to provide the platform that you don't have to worry. So it's a platform as a service, but the data is provided and the capability is provided, so you don't need data to be able to and I think that's the beauty of it, right? And we're here today to be able to celebrate that. What else can I say? Sorry. I think the other thing is that if you look at in South Africa, one of the key things is, as I mentioned, is the speed at which technology is changing. You need to be able to keep up with that. And that's what you find, a lot of organizations that are not keeping up, you're finding that the people in the organization are becoming redundant. So one of the key things is how do we upskill and reskill people to be able to perform the jobs that we do? There's a saying out there, by probably 2030, the jobs that our kids, those of you in the room who have kids, we don't know what jobs they're going to be because we don't know how the world is going to change. So that's an important thing, and I think the talent gap that we have in South Africa, that's where we need to be able to be investing in education and being able to do it. I think there's a panel later, so I'll share my thoughts on some of the impacts of poor education in the country and how education can actually help transform an organization. So I don't want to share all that now, but I'll do that later. Thank you very much.
Last question to the audience. IBM has a nickname. Do you know IBM's nickname? Oh, Kevin, should I ask you? I just found out. It's nicknamed Big Blue. All right. I don't know if you remember, there was a data must fall movement spearheaded by, who's this guy? You know him, Thibaut Touch, yes, yes. I think it's safe to say that data is falling. Yeah, now with this launch, we could start talking about indeed data is about to fall. Let's just quickly bring in our next guest, Wesley Gabriels from Game Theory. Please, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we welcome Wesley Gabriels.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Wesley Gabriels from Game Theory. I'm a chartered accountant from Cape Town, and I was an early investor in Softmeet. So yeah, it's a really good day for us. I've sort of exited the investment. I sort of left Lebo a couple of years ago, but I'm glad to see you invited me to be on the stage today and take some of the plaudits. So, Softmeet is going to reimagine access, creativity, and the inclusion of AI, digital inclusion. South Africa is, we all feel the tension, with the job opportunities, the lack of unemployment, the unemployment rates, etc. There's a lot of angst, when Trump sort of makes the comments that he makes, etc., and it just gives a lot of shocks, and we're all feeling it at this stage, right? And then it's the youth as well. Like I've got two boys. What are they going to study going forward? What jobs will be there for them in future? It's a very, very tricky time at the moment, right? And what do we want for them? We want to have a future that's an inclusive future, right? At this stage, we're kind of too scared to engage with youth. I'd be too scared to engage with youth and try and plot and make them dream, right? It'll be very difficult, but that's what we're all aspiring to, right? Like Lebo has done. He's looked past that and he's wanting to build that future, okay? But there's problems, right? It's difficult. There's challenges in taking on that charge. There was also problems with me and Lebo through the years, even with my own biases, my own. We looked at before we made the investment decision. We had a chat with him. As we do with these type of investments, you always have to get to the nitty-gritty. The devil's in the detail, but with this type of investment, which is an early stage angel investment, they call it. I don't feel like an angel, more like a devil sometimes, because I had to hold him to task. But, when he told me no, he had sold his car. He's put everything into this business now. Then I said, okay, fine. No matter what else, that is the most critical one, that he's committed to it. He doesn't, it's not a side hustle, whatever. It was full-time into this thing. And I said, okay, fine, Lebo. Let's go for it, right? And we sort of made the investment and then led the charge with him. And there was also issues with my own biases as an investor, and it sings to the rest of the country as well. Like Lebo, to be honest, Lebo would have had a lot more money. The reality is, if his name wasn't Lebo Kham Malosani, if his name was something else. There's a 4 billion rand venture capital program in Stellenbosch, but I was the guy that was able to invest in Lebo, right? Because I saw through that, right? But my own biases was that Lebo is a nerd. He's not because we have this perception of black guys that listen to jazz or whatever and chilled or whatever. But Lebo is a nerd, and it just doesn't suit the framework for we all see Silicon Valley, etc., right? So that was something that I had to realize very quickly. Lebo is going to struggle in business development meetings because he just wants to code. He's probably itching here now. He probably wants to code right now. So that was the kind of problems that we had to deal with through it. And he's stuck through it, right? And that's great. And we've now this is the next iteration of Softmeet. I don't know if everybody knows the initial one. We first spoke to Lebo. It was just like a Zoom type call. He built it out in COVID, or pre-COVID, because he wanted to have Zoom calls and seminars, and it was just like this one interface. And compared to what it looks like now, it's like crazy. And we struggle to keep up with Lebo. That is the reality, as investors, as partners or more strategic involvement. We struggle to keep up with the talent, really, right? And that's why we kind of left the scene, And I'm glad to see his be at this juncture. But yeah, it's Softmeet. It is an awesome platform, like you said, like the IBM guy said. It's like being able to put up and drive the economy forward, having kids create their own destiny, or like, it's not just for jobs and commercial stuff, it's also for creative sector. Right? The next Canva, which is one of the AI tools that you have, needs to come through this platform now. We can start dreaming about this thing. It's a catalytic event to sort of, get our kids to start believing and start pushing them. So that's the awesome opportunity with Softmeet. And but it's always going to be challenging. We know that it's difficult for businesses to actually sort of engage with something, a startup. We said there's always going to be challenges like that. And Lebo, the key one is that he's stuck through it and he's built up this track record, and I'm sure you'll see it through. So that's great. And in a year's time, or he's been on international stages before, etc. And long may it continue. And well done, Lebo, and your team, Hops, Seba as well. Well done to you guys that you kept on delivering quality and exceeding the expectations, right? And I'm sure the rest of us will catch up soon, buddy. Okay, so well done. Okay.
Obviously for that, yeah, our angel investor / devil investor, interesting stuff there. Thank you so much. I want to call to the podium Macolleen Roach from Port FM, right? It is also an important conversation to have with community media, because as community media, if we are not going to be part of the innovative conversation, we're going to be left behind. And I'm actually excited that she is part of this event. So put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome Macolleen.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues and champions of community media, it is an honor to stand before you today as we navigate the evolving landscape of community radio into the digital age. The fourth industrial revolution is upon us and is bringing with it unprecedented technological advancements that reshape how we communicate, connect, and engage with our audiences. I am representing Port FM, a community radio station in Tshwane, situated in Eersterus, but at the same time, I'm a director of the South African Community Radio Organization. The community radio landscape is as follows. We have 271 licensed stations in South Africa spread across all 9 provinces, and that was a stat in 2023. It dropped to 2006 in 2025 due to non-renewal of licenses and non-payment of Centec fees. But the new opportunities that we're facing currently is that 158 community radio frequencies have been currently advertised through ICASA, with applications closing on the 20th of June 2025. And we also currently have 35 low-powered licensed radio stations in South Africa. So the reach and the impact of community radio is that community radio listenership exceeds 8 million people in our country, and the South African Community Radio Organization has access to all of these stations and supports the sector in various ways. Now, community radio has long been the heartbeat of our communities. It is a trusted source of information, a platform of local voices, and a bridge between cultures. However, as we transition into a more digitally driven world, we must confront the challenges and opportunities presented by initiatives such as the Dataless Initiative. The Dataless Initiative aims to remove data costs as a barrier to accessing digital content, making information more widely available to those who may struggle with connectivity. While this is a commendable step towards inclusivity, we must ask the question, where does community radio fit into this new paradigm? For decades, our stations are thrived on traditional FM broadcasting, reaching listeners in rural and urban areas alike. But as digital platforms become the primary mode of content consumption, we must ensure that community radio is not left behind. The challenges we face is digital accessibility. While the Dataless Initiative seeks to make online content more accessible, community radio stations must find ways to integrate digital streaming without alienating listeners who still rely on the traditional radio. Funding and infrastructure. Many community radio stations operate on a limited budget. Transitioning to digital platforms require investment in technology, training, and infrastructure, resources that are often scarce in our arena. Audience engagement. As younger audiences shift towards digital media, community radio must evolve to remain relevant. We must explore innovative ways to engage our listeners through social media platforms, podcasting, and interactive platforms. What is the path forward? To ensure that community radio remains a vital force in the 4IR era, we must embrace collaboration, innovation, and advocacy. By collaboration, I mean we must work with policymakers, telecommunication providers, and digital platforms to ensure that community radio is included in the data initiative, which it now is because we've been part of the pilot project, so I'm grateful for that. If streaming services and online content can be made accessible without data costs, then community radio stations should be the benefit of this model. So I'm really happy to know that we are. Innovation. We must adopt hybrid broadcasting models that combine FM transmission with digital streaming, allowing us to reach audiences across multiple platforms. Advocacy. We must push for policies that protect and promote community radio, ensuring fair funding models and equitable access to the digital infrastructure. Community radio has always been resilient. We have weathered financial struggles, regulatory challenges, and shifts in audience behavior. And today, as we navigate the impact of the Dataless Initiative, we must once again rise to the occasion. Let us not see this as a threat, but as an opportunity, a chance to redefine community radio for the future, to ensure that no voice is left unheard, and to reaffirm our commitment to serving the people of South Africa. Thanks to Softmeet and their partners for this innovative initiative. We look forward to the partnership. Together we believe that we will adapt, we will innovate. Together we will ensure that community radio remains the beacon of information, empowerment, and unity. Thank you.
Baie dankie, Macolleen. Yeah, my Afrikaans ends there, comrades. I can't. Now imagine attending an Afrikaans class in high school was a battle. I'm even ashamed to tell you my marks. But I know that there's some former colleagues here who know that Afrikaans, oh God, yeah. We are about to call upon the founder and CEO, Ulebogang. Wesley said, when he said you should have probably used a different name, I was thinking of names, literally thinking of names. But I think before the end of the day, I'll actually have a name for you. Ladies and gentlemen, let's us put our hands together as we welcome Lebogang to the stage, the founder and CEO of Softmeet.
I'm also not going to take time, colleagues. I've got some restriction also on my side. Thank you very much. I just want to talk about this logo. As you can see, it's an African logo. So today I decided to be Oga, to be totally different and represent African. So I want to thank, I think I want to start thanking everyone for coming. I see Mr. Craig there. I don't usually talk to him much. Normally I would call Jeanette and say, this is what I need. And then they will say, send an email to sort it out. I see MICT CETA, as Google has said, we've been working since the days of Professor Pierce, who's not here. I think, let me start with how this started first. I think this started in 2012. I've got a good friend of mine called Moses Mpahlele. So I was not an entrepreneur. I think he's the one who made me to be an entrepreneur, because I've never seen a guy who works 24/7 like him. Maybe I took that from him. Ever since from there, I've learned a lot. He's an engineer himself, but pivoting to ICT. And then fast forward now is that we needed to make a proper research and understand what is it that we are trying to solve in a country. But because we needed to solve something in a country, we needed stakeholders. And one of the good days, I got a message from Google who said, Lebo, I've got interns that you can host for us. I said, Google, what are the, because it's the first time I started dealing with this thing, which is MICT CETA. I didn't understand how the tool works, the admin and all of those things. We didn't understand how actually that worked. But I think for us to be where we are, we must most importantly appreciate MICT CETA, because the product we built it with interns from nothing. So when we look at the issue of internship in our country, is that these kids, most of them, they are coming from various institutes with no background of skills. And one of the key factors that we wanted to solve in our business, it was not only we wanted to build a platform, but we needed to also become lecturers to them, because to be fair and honest, the basic of education in our country, they are getting basics. And then when they come to the work environment, it's a totally different structure. But before we met before we started that intern, we had a meeting with Craig and his team, where at that time the Minister was Minister Nchabedi, to certify Softmeet through CETA. As I can tell you now, Softmeet, it is a state security certified solution. I don't know any other platforms that are roaming around in our country. How are they roaming around here? Because it must be certified through CETA to run in government. And I think from a policy advocacy, it's what Jeanette, Craig, and a lot of people in government are trying to push, that let us try and run the economy in our country so that we are able to, it's not only about job creation, but it's also about giving an opportunity to grow these people into senior positions. Because one key factor as leaders is that we must be able to pivot into other programs and leave other people to continue running our businesses. So I want to thank the MICT CETA, because those interns are the ones basically, as you see Softmeet where it is today, is because of them. It was tough though, coming to also introducing IBM into the product also again. And I want to say about how it worked out very well, because with MICT CETA, it's a skill. They are paying for a skill. It's not a salary. And they are explaining it well. So when IBM came on board in a form of investment, we then topped up those stipends that they were getting via the IBM investment to be able to build the product that you see today. Today, what I can tell you is that when we pushed data-free module, we are not a data-free company because we are a reseller. No, we are a data-free company because we directly signed an agreement with the network. In this case, it's MTN that is aggregating data to various networks for us. But how it works is that when we had the deal with MTN, it took 1 year, 8 months to resolve that deal. At the same time, with CETA to certify us, it took longer also. I think Craig, when I called him at some point, he thought I was speaking about CETA there, because he said, hey, this CETA is going to kill me now. I think at that time when CETA, I think at that time when CETA approved us, they approved us with one of the company, Nexatel, I think so. We were one of the 2 guys that actually CETA started certifying us as a video conferencing solution. But today, I can tell you now, what we have done so far, we've given 172,000 kids access to virtual learning in Pretoria North District. That means what we have done, thank you very much. So what we have done is that we went to those districts to get those kids for the first time to study without data after hours. That means a teacher can continue teaching those kids after hours. But we cannot only focus on meetings. We need to get people intensivized and all of those things. And then we know that we've got a platform in our country that has over 1 billion people. That is an instant messaging app that is running now all over the world. And we wanted to also become a competitor to that particular platform, but we needed to understand what are the barriers in various communities. That 20 to 26 million people that are struggling with internet access is what we are trying to actually achieve. And to this date, we have successfully built a complete data-free solution that runs on all 4 networks without data. It means now, if you can go to Softmeet, you can basically chat without data. Last but not least, the radio station. We needed to make sure that we connect one last dot, which is radio stations, to grow our user base. As of next week, it's a hunting season for us. For the first time also in this country, you will be able to listen to radio without data through us. That means that, so we'll start our pilot with Port FM as of next week, mostly on community radio station. With what the Department of Communication is also trying to do to bridge that digital divide, I think maybe from a government side, last week the minister was at IBM and he said that, when we've got entrepreneurs, it's actually genius because we don't have to do a lot as government. The enabler of Digitech itself has opened many doors. I think it gives Jeanette Craig sleepless night, especially dealing with us on a daily basis. Craig, I need this. Jeanette, I need this. Sometimes we call them, they're in a meeting, but we always call them, we're nagging them, and we will never stop. We will never stop. I think one key factor, Craig, there's our Leonard friend called Vinci on one of the platforms. You can see he never stops. You get what, and that is the resilience of us as entrepreneurs that we have. One key factor is that where we are sitting now is that irrespective of the job titles that we have, at the end of the day, we must always think that where we are coming from. The DG says he comes from those rural areas. And I can tell you now, DG, when you go there, in the next few weeks, you'll find Softmeet working there also, without data. To close off, I see the MCs looking at me. I see the MCs looking at me. All our stakeholders, IBM, Department of Communication, MICT CETA, will continue to to work with MICT to enhance the skill that is required. Because at the end of the day, it's not about money, it's about growing this economy in South Africa. And I think from the 4IR team, what Google is doing for a number of years, I don't speak with Google most of the time, but when I speak with Google, she knows that I'm in business. and so if you go to the network, they'll want to vet you, and you know, as entrepreneurs, when it comes to credit ratings, we are very down. So they will want to vet you and all of those things. We will put those APIs for anyone that is available to build their own solution. Of course, we're going to charge you. And then you can build your own platform without data also to continue growing your solution. Thank you very much, MC. And thank you very much for everyone that has arrived.
Thank you so much, Oga. Yeah, thank you so much there, Lebu. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you have downloaded Softmeet app. I've already downloaded the app. Before we leave, I'll be checking phones. All right, not just kidding. We are about to go to our networking break. Take this time, meet new people, introduce, exchange business cards, phone numbers, and let's connect. Looking at the time, it's 15:18. I think we'll be back here at about 15:50. Are we okay with that? We're fine with it, right? Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a networking break. You can go there, get some refreshments, drinks, coffees, and for those who want pub, Nescopo, skis.
Good evening, I'm Deirdre Fredericks and I'm reporting for Port FM, your Kasi, your Stasi. We're at the official launch of Softmeet, connectless, dataless connectivity. We are talking about how we want to change all the people around us, how we want to connect communities that's always been underserved. And the genius behind this app is none other than Lebo, and he's ecstatic today because he's going to bring people together. And what does that mean for you today, standing here, knowing you had this powerful tool that will connect so many people, what they always wanted to, in schools, in communities? What is that feeling like?
I think what is important was we needed to resolve the dignity of data. Not having data in this country, especially in this high unemployment rate, it's a problem. So having a platform where you can be able to apply for jobs without data, and at the same time, communicate with your loved ones without data, it's one of the things that when you talk about digital inclusive is what we are trying to close actually as a business. If you look at the 2030 NDP of government, they are looking at closing that. I think we have done it before them, So it makes me very happy because we are from rural background, so it's very much something that is close to my heart, by the way. Thank you very much for that. Yeah.
Well, I know there's going to be students are going to be happy, mamas in areas that can connect with the children whom they can't, because it is really the unserved communities that's lacking behind communities or libraries that are without data for that matter. Will you still believe in this age and time? We have libraries that does not have data, and all the information we still get on the internet. And I want you to leave us with the last words. Inspire the young entrepreneur out there, getting in, especially when it comes to inclusivity. That is what we're working towards as a South African nation.
Look, it has to make you dream. It must be something that makes you to have nightmares. If it doesn't do that, then something is wrong. So from the younger ones is that we understand the current situation of the country where we are, unemployment, high crime rate, but we do not have an excuse to start something from the ground. We started from nothing, and we are from nothing, and today we are here. So it doesn't mean that if you are coming from yesteryears, you cannot become something. You can become something with the right enabler, with the right mindset. I believe that you can. So I believe that if you look at the current situation, is that at some point this country will be taken care by younger people. So currently now it's very much important that we have the discipline so that we are able to take care of our loved ones, which is the people at large, the people on the ground. So now, a partnership, making sure that we understand the vision that we want to achieve as a country will take us far, definitely.
Visionary that's going to take South Africa globally and everyone globally through connectivity, and especially that everybody be included. I'm Deirdre Fredericks for Port FM, your Kasi, your Stasi.
Right. Thank you so much for this time and for sticking through. Because, you know, after lunch, yeah, things get bad. Right? Yeah, things. It's on a Friday, so it's bad, right? So thank you very much for sticking through, and let's just have this conversation. Probably we'll just do 20 to 30 minutes, right? We're not going to go too deep into the conversation, but I'd like us to. But because of time, we'll have to be cognizant of that. After the conversation, we'll have probably 2 rounds of questions. Please ask questions, cradle them if you have to, right? But I'm going to be very kind. And so I'm going to start with this question. When we... I think it was 2020 during COVID, it really shook us. Personally, I wasn't ready. And you know, you don't even know what to do. It was quite a scary moment. All of a sudden, it's like time stopped. And how we did life just changed. You had to be a special worker to go to work. It was a big problem, and things changed, and we had to rely on technology, and it was very difficult. Schools were closed, kids had to scramble. Are we going to use other chat platforms to try? And it was truly a mess. And what I just want to know is from that time, what are the significant progress that we have made? Because during that time, we're not ready, but other industries were. Others really were not. So looking at 2020 up to now, what are some of the significant progress that we've seen with regards to bridging the digital divide?
I can start.
Yeah, you can.
I think we've made great progress. The first thing is, I think when 2020, when COVID happened, I remember March, we had teams in Botswana doing work. And we got a call to say there's this new virus, we don't know what it is, but you need to take your teams urgently out of Botswana. And everybody had those people where everybody was scared. How do we work from home? We don't have the connectivity. But surprisingly, most companies, within a period of 2 weeks, was able to get back online. Those that were not well in technology were able to get things up and running and being able to still communicate. I think that's the one thing, right? The second thing is, if you look at it, people had to find different ways to keep themselves preoccupied during COVID. And what happened, you found that the whole world from ownership to access changed. You found that the emergence of videos, video online systems, Netflix, Amazon Prime, that's what people subscription. So if you go and you look at these digital companies, they had an increase in terms of subscriptions during that period. Surprisingly, the companies like accommodation companies, the transport companies, they suffered because we were in quarantine. So basically, you were not allowed to leave your house. But a lot of other services, if you look at the retail businesses, 60/60, Woolworths, all these companies, ASAP, all these companies created capabilities, online capabilities for you to order and get things delivered. So in my view, there was a big increase in the adoption of technology to be able to confront that.
Thank you. From the departmental point of view,
Yeah.
the change was seismic for us because everybody had always spoken about we have to be more, we have to develop platforms, and it was something we just spoke about, but we never really took it that seriously. Obviously, everybody knew about Teams, Microsoft Teams, everybody knew about Zoom, but it was something that other people did, not us, because we wanted to have in-person meetings. That was the standard. And COVID basically changed all that in an instant. We then realized that as government, we were very unprepared for everybody moving onto platforms. And we were caught unawares, and I remember feeling very, very, I suppose, embarrassed a little bit, because we were the department that was supposed to be leading something like that, and we were not prepared. Yes. So I say it flat out because we experienced it, and we had to learn. I remember going on to the very first Zoom and team meetings, and it was like being in a seance. Can you hear me? Sorry, no, can you hear me? That's what it was like. Everybody was experiencing this in different ways. Fast forward now, and basically we have a work from home policy in the department, where I can't ever see myself going back to a square block to go and sit inside there so that somebody else can see me there. And I'm very fortunate that I've got a boss who's very understanding, because I do my best work when I'm sitting in the bath in a Zoom meeting. No, I don't. I don't. I'm just saying it can happen, but I don't. Yeah. No. So in terms of the government policy, I mean, this went all the way through to Parliament, to presidency. Everybody had to understand very quickly that if we wanted to communicate, it couldn't be face-to-face. It had to be via technology. And I mean, we're the technology department. So we had to adapt really, really quickly. We had to also get the message out that this was an acceptable way to do business. And that I think in that way we succeeded, because within a matter of 2 or 3 months, everybody was on Teams, everybody was on Zoom, and everybody was looking at different ways of communication, because the communication factor is actually the key thing for me. When it gave us access to people, so instead of having a phone call, you now had video calls. And I always tell people that the one thing that most people don't realize about WhatsApp, for instance, is that back in the day when you had fixed line, everybody, I mean, if you spoke to someone overseas, you spoke faster than me. And because you're paying 25 rand a minute depending on where you're phoning. Fast forward to now, you're making a video call to any country in the world that has WhatsApp for the same amount of money as if you're calling somebody across the road. That's been the seismic change that COVID brought, and that's where we are living in now. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, do you want to go? Okay, Macaulay.
I think for community media, especially radio in the broadcasting industry, it was quite challenging. If you think of a rural area where they were used to the traditional FM and maybe they couldn't get to the station, it was really, really challenging. I think it was the era when podcasting and the app came into play for community radio, and that made us also realize that we need to merge audio and visual. So a lot of things were born out of that. That was, I think, a great plus point for us as community media.
Would Wesley or Olga take it? Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think from our side, I think the opportunity came on the education side, because if you look at what happened during that side, the public sector, especially the basic education, was at a halt. And that's where you now look at that digital divide, because private sector was not at a halt. So that's where now, if you look at when we did the research that is based on Stats SA, I think in terms of we haven't yet as a country pivoted into that virtual learning. But if you look at what Stats SA did on their research, I think Gauteng is still sitting at about 6% at the moment, followed by Western Cape. So which means that there is a need to change, there is a need to basically innovate. Now, when it comes to connectivity, I know government is working hard on making sure the spectrum issue, we all know about that issue, how it comes, but it's not something that can be delivered in one day. But look at it this way, out of the 45 million people who are connected, we still have 26 million people actively. So that means that there is, we are getting there, looking at private sector versus government. Government is opening up the doors for private sector to continue growing the connectivity in rural areas, in urban areas. So if we talk about the issue of COVID, I think it was a learning curve that it's a mistake that will never, from a connectivity point,
none of us or the government will ever commit such a mistake or relax on it. If you look at after the issue of COVID, what happened now, a lot of implementation started, in various rollout. And to be fair and honest, sometimes we look at the government that it's not doing something, but we've been into these rural areas. There's a lot that is happening there on connectivity that a lot of people are not aware of. So how did now those people get that connectivity? It cannot say it's Vodacom, but the path to that was done on that basis of that act or that policy advocacy in terms of rolling out that sector. So I think us as a country, we just have to continue being innovative. If you hear the news, the Starlink, but I believe that internally in our country, there's a lot that can be done in terms of the growth. I mean, it's just 60 million plus of us, but we're not doing that bad so far.
Right. So before you answer, I'm just made aware that we need to add one more guest to be part of the panel, Balisa, Anthony from MICT CETA. Thank you, Oga.
Okay, so before I get into the small positives of COVID, I just want to say, now that you mentioned the COVID, which was 5 years ago, it's still a harrowing experience. And now that I think about it, talking to people, I feel that a lot of people have lost contact or don't call as much as they used to do. People are becoming a lot more internally focused, from that time. So that behavior, that societal change is not good. What it did show, obviously, is that we need to be more with people, etc. We needed to have that high fives and those hugs. Glad that's back. So that was a negative. But for the positive for me was it proved the business case of Softmeet because we needed the reversible data opportunity set in this country, and there was interesting research we did when we spoke to one of the universities. I don't know which university it was, and they were buying the students' data, and they checked what the students was using the data for. And it was 90% on pornography. So the kids were not really using it to get into class. They were actually using it for wrong things, where we had a system that we could control that they would be in class and they would never be, wouldn't have to use for anything else. So that's proved the business case. And people were like, no, we're at home, we got our data, our Wi-Fi, it's rocking, don't worry. But then what happens when it's load shedding and the Wi-Fi drops? Then you want data. Expensive data from Vodacom. That just proved the opportunity set with Softmeet. So definitely from post that sort of accelerator made it easier to have those conversations about the technology.
Now, Palisa, earlier on, I just mentioned that looking at 2020 during the COVID era, it really changed our lives. And one thing that I know, when you look at the townships, there's certain businesses that closed during that time, they're gone, So I just want to find out from you, from the MICT CETA, just also want to get your reflection on the progress that we have made with regards to, bridging the digital divide. Because that time, it required us to talk digital. If there was one vocabulary during the time, it was digital. So what are some of the changes that you have observed?
Okay, thanks for that, but just a correction. So I've got two heads today. I'm from MLab, and I'm a technology lead there. And then I'm also a chairperson for the 4IR MICT Education Stream Committee. So those are the two heads that I'm wearing today. So one of the things that we've done, so I'm going to talk as a committee. We were in a process of developing 4IR curriculums that time. And it was really important for us to get the students ongoing. I do want to say most students in our program were already onboarding virtually. And in terms of generally, we already were, using your Google Meet, your Zoom. I think industry was far way ahead. It was just a matter of now, obviously the whole world jumping in, even with the private sector. But I think it was time that we sort of like get into the space. It was already there, people were implementing it. I mean, now we've got, myself, I'm also hybrid. That's how the world has changed right now, to say you can be productive through these virtuals, including also the learners. I mean, we are UNISA students, we are writing even online, and those are the processes that they were not there. So it did play a very significant role in terms of digital changing, and I like how the world also embraced it in a sense. It was difficult times, but we sort of like embraced the new era that we're in, and it's definitely gonna get better as we move forward. Thanks.
I mean, sorry, just a comment. I think the other thing changed was semigration. You know, previously when people made decisions, you made decisions to stay as close as to possible to work. But what COVID did, it made people reconsider and say, what's more important is being where I want to be with my family and closer by. And I think the digital divide or the technology enabled people to work from that. So you had a lot of that. I think the other thing is there's a lot of people now that are global workers, but still living in their own country doing the work remotely. I think from a company perspective, there's been a lot of policy change on the ways of working. Some companies have basically come out there and said they will never go back to full-time work. Some have reversed the decisions. And I think lots of other companies have decided to go middle ground and 3 days in, 2 days out. So I think the hybrid method is here to stay. It'll just depend on the type of organization, the type of work you do, and what's practical.
So work as we know it has literally changed.
Yeah.
Right. And during the COVID era, there's one thing that I really need to commend is the private sector's role, during that time. And I really want to bring it to you, Kevin, looking at the role of corporate, in trying to assist, the government to close, bridging the digital divide, because corporate did play a huge role, and I think it's something that we need to commend. In as much as you want to talk bad about corporate, but you need to give credit where it's due.
I think if you can look at a lot of the technology companies or corporates, they had a big role to play, right? Because if you look at that, I think Zoom was a big platform. Obviously, Microsoft, in terms of in Microsoft Teams, I mean, you can look at the share prices of what happened to Zoom and everything during that period, right? Yeah. So I think that was the one part. I think that was the application. The other big part that organizations had to play is on the infrastructure. So, you had to be online. So in order to be online, companies like probably AWS, IBM to a certain extent, Microsoft, Google, all these companies had to provide the infrastructure so Teams could run on or Zoom could run on at that point in time. I think the other big thing is some organizations, and we don't have to mention names, but they probably helped some communities that didn't have the infrastructure to expedite those processes, to be able to put things in place so that we could get everybody connected. Because we live in a world where there's lots of inequality.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the sad part came in, is certain organizations and communities, they were seamless. Some of them were not impacted because they had these technologies, they had these capabilities that they've used all the time. So that's where I think organizations supported in terms of maybe reducing the cost of data in certain places, providing devices at a cheaper price for that matter. So I think that's the role they kind of played in helping through that process.
Now, Craig, I want to bring you in on this conversation, just touching on the department's vision and also looking at enabling the policy environment, And I remember that Minister Malatsi Minister Malatsi's portfolio, we know that it's very central to bridging the digital divide. From the department's perspective, what are the maybe top 3 strategies that you guys have to currently guide with the efforts of bridging the digital divide?
Okay, so I'm going to speak first, but our Chief Directorate, because I'm intimately involved with that. So as Lebogang said earlier on, in our Chief Directorate, we basically developed this program called Digitech. So what is Digitech? When Minister Ntshavheni came to me about 3 years ago and said, I want you to establish this thing over here, I honestly didn't think it was part of what we should have been doing. Because there's Department of Trade and Industry, there's Department of Small Business. What is the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies doing, engaging with SMMEs? But very quickly, I realized that the need and the desire and the hunger for it was massive. In fact, this program has evolved from a small program to something that's now won 3 global awards, because in the past, in terms of policy, for instance, government tried to solve all the problems. That didn't work. We had limited success, and in sometimes we didn't have any success at all. And we threw huge amounts of money in it because we wanted to solve all the problems. As the money sort of started running out, we had to look at different ways. And what, from my personal point of view, and I know from the departmental point of view, and the ministers as well, public-private partnerships are essential. Mm-hmm. We cannot do without it. We can't code as well as Google. We can't do infrastructure as well as IBM. Yeah. We can't. Yeah. We have to work together. It's impossible to do otherwise. If you look at countries across the world that have succeeded in implementing this kind of policies and strategies, it has always been public-private partnerships. And if you bring academia into that and venture capital, which is exactly what the Digitech program has done, then you have an ecosystem which feeds into itself, where government lays the platform, and we give access to resources and so forth in terms of our policies. Public-private partnerships, they have programs which can assist SMMEs. I know that Lebogang is a direct beneficiary of an IBM program. So I speak here from absolute certainty that it works. So in terms of what we're doing, the top 3, I would say in terms of policy certainty is number one, we've got a policy called SA Connect, which is to connect the unconnected in the rural areas. Again, we started off doing it on our own, but now we've also seen that we have to go into partnerships with the guys who know how to do it properly. We can't do it any other way. So SA Connect is a policy directive from what we're doing. It's a huge thing, because there we want to connect, especially in rural areas. In urban areas, you're over-resourced because you have speeds of up to 100 megabits per second. You just go 20 minutes outside of any urban area, and suddenly you're struggling to get 3G. If you've ever gone to the rural areas, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So that is a key policy that we have to move forward on. There's a number of others, the ECA Act and so forth. But in terms of what we're doing in our Chief Directorate, it is absolutely essential that my job, Jeanette's job, and the DDG's job, we have to lay the foundation and the platform for guys like the Severe, for the SMMEs. I'm not just saying it, because if we don't do it, then who else is going to do it for us?
Yeah. And now, Lev, I just want to quickly bring you in here as an entrepreneur. What are some of the policies, the government policies that you feel are hindering, particularly entrepreneurs? Because it becomes a bit of a problem. If you remember, a couple of years ago, our president, formed, or rather established, a red task team that will focus on dealing with the red tapes, particularly for entrepreneurship. What are some of the policies that you feel are a problem and need to be changed from your perspective as an entrepreneur?
Is it fine? Take this one. So let me rephrase it properly from a policy point of view. If we look at, I think we need to understand how the structure of government works. But there's no money in government. Let's put it properly. There's no money where you are going to find it. Government is opening up doors for us to basically enable us to grow. So if we're going to get into the policy, right? I think one of the key factors that we can look into, you've got your subsidiary called GEP, right? Gauteng Enterprise Propel as an example, right? I think from those perspectives, maybe we can relook at the funding model of how GEP, the likes of GEP, can fund SMMEs. But again, you don't just fund for the sake of funding. There has to be some sort of a proof of concept, right, before you can fund. So now, how will government work? If you look at the Digitech now, that's where Digitech comes in, where it partners with different incubators now. Because we are different as businesses. You cannot say you are going to give business A this X amount, and then you find out that business B actually need business support before they can even get into that funding model. You understand what I'm saying? So from a perspective of policy, it's difficult really to say we can change that policy, you know, but we've got the enablers like your Digitech that can probably look at how best can we look at partnering. Because again, remember when Craig is talking about Digitech is about also partnership. And if you look at the businesses that are built, even IBM itself is built on partnership, right? Without partnership, you cannot grow. So I'm talking about GEP because I know I've tried to apply for funding at GEP. You know, those red tapes, it's a problem, you know. But from a policy perspective, we can really look at what type of funding from GEP can we get, as an example. And then we've got the NYDA also, which again, we must understand again, in government, I think Craig has got limitation. If he wanted to go beyond engineer, they could. But what they do, I would make an example how this thing works. If I need to get access in national Department of Education nationally, and that's where digital comes in, and that has nothing to do with policy now. That is what we call an enabler. You get what I'm saying? Now, the issue of policy is something that it's difficult to come and change policy so that it can apply to us. But what we can do is that we can look at how best can we look at those requirements. If you look at the requirements in GEP, it's kind of like a state-owned. But if you look at it, the requirements are similar to me going to a bank in a way. Maybe somewhere there, it's where now a couple of things can work in to see how best can we run around that process. But from a policy perspective, it's going to be a difficult one to change that.
Yeah, now can I see that you are playing it safe, comrade.
Yeah, I think, you know, just to be to spin it in a positive way.
Okay.
There's collaboration between government and corporates. You know, I spoke earlier about more the infrastructure and the technology. Yeah. Maybe let me just talk about education being the powerful tool that bridges the digital gap.
Yeah.
So what government has done, they've got programs in place. I work for IBM, which is an American company. So what we've done is we've got collaboration on the EEI program, investment programs that we're working with government, which they hold us accountable for, where we put a plan, like a 10-year plan together, which we're finalizing in the moment, to be able to partner with government to be able to do this, to provide investment. And that investment is through education and training. And part of that program is to how do we identify companies like Lebokangs, current companies and future companies who have great ideas but need the incubators to help them grow that idea from a concept into a proper pilot or a platform. So I think that's what IBM, together with other organizations, have done from 2022 to now, to the successful launch of a platform that hopefully will grow and actually benefit the people of South Africa. And I think that's where the collaboration is coming. How do we partner? How do we do that? How do we hold each other accountable? And it's not just, it's metrics. There's a scorecard that's defined. We get measured against the scorecard.
Okay.
So part of that is how we create the capabilities. country.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned education because that was the point that I was going to go to. How is, I know that IBM has a skill built. How's that working?
So I must say, in my 30-year history being in employment, and not because I work for IBM, it's one of the best programs I've seen.
Okay.
The ambitions are quite extraordinary. The plan is to, by 2030, to skill 30 million people worldwide. So that skills build program actually provides free training on all the latest and greatest technologies that you can go in, you can register, and you can certify. For example, everybody's talking about artificial intelligence. There's several courses on artificial intelligence from somebody who's never known how to spell AI to the person who's intermediate and advanced. So that's what we've done on those programs, and we've taken quantum computing, all the areas. So if you look at the World Economic Forum, they go and identify this year, for example, what are the 10 top skills that you would require in the world to be able to thrive. We've made sure that we align to that, and those programs are all developed and available. And as I said, for most people, if you're a client of IBM, you're free. We provide it for small SMEs that can actually register and take advantage of that.
Now, Palestine, I'd like to bring you on this because I think you shouldn't wear the sitter hat, right? Because it's double hat, right? I need to make sure I remember that. So let's wear the MI sitter hat, speaking about education, because I believe it will play an integral role in terms of bridging the digital divide, Now, looking at MI sitter and the programs that MI sitter has, right? And I would like to know, because when you look at research, it speaks about when you go to rural areas, there are a bit of challenges, right? So based on the department, what are some of the challenges that you are actually seeing, comparing it to rural and urban with regards to education, right? And to rather look into which province really, or rather which place between urban and rural needs more attention to actually bridge the digital divide using education.
So I'm going to wear both hats, right?
Okay, wear them both.
So we do run robust training in rural areas because of the Mexita rural strategy of education, right? And what we've seen, so they do have, we've partnered with TVET colleges, whereby they have, these digital hubs within the TVET colleges, but they don't have the necessary skills. But what we have seen is that once we teach the young people, they grasp easily. Technology is very fun. I mean, you can see with a toddler, they know how to operate a tablet. True. It's like it speaks to you in a sense, and it's very, heartwarming to see someone who has never, for instance, I've run Internet of Things programs, short programs in rural areas in Richmond. The mayor was there as well to open the program with us. And, from not knowing basic electronics and also mixing hardware as well as software. But once they get out of the program, there's employment. Some are even opening their businesses as well. As part of the Mexita partners, we also have partners who are running cell phone and laptop repairs. Some are even having now their mobile tools done. So we see the economic side of it into tapping into the digital space, as well as also gaining also employment with it. So the issue now is that we must upskill.
Upskill, right.
Yeah, but in terms of, if there is any connectivity issues, resources, I think with them partnering with the local municipalities and stuff, they are quite okay.
Marcolene, earlier on, Kevin mentioned collaboration, also mentioned what they do within Skills Build. I mean, there should be an opportunity for collaboration between community media, and IBM to really reach as many people as possible. Do you perhaps see that there is a possibility of this collaboration taking place in order to push education so that we could close this digital divide?
Absolutely. I was actually smiling when he was saying that, and I could see a lot of things for community media because we are at the bottom of the food chain because we really, really struggle, and our staff are voluntary, so they don't get paid. They come to work at a community radio station, and in exchange for getting the skill. So it's absolutely a must for us to impart knowledge to them, skill to them. And also, you know, when I heard you said that it was accredited training and they could get some sort of certification, that was a big plus. And I think that's definitely where we can see collaboration with yourselves.
Now, I'd like to bring Wesley into this conversation. I haven't forgotten about what you said. Yeah, because collaborations are important, and as Macolin said, looking at the structure, the community radio structure, some are, or rather, all of them, are working there, they're volunteering there, and from a person, from your background, from the, being an investor, right? Do you perhaps think that there could also be collaboration with community media so that you could empower more people to get into, the digital space as entrepreneurs? Because too many of them have the idea, they want to start something, but because of they don't know who to talk to, they don't know where to start, how to start, and I think there could be something that you guys can work on. So what are some of the key things that perhaps you could say that will be able to encourage particularly young people, looking at the high unemployment rate being amongst young people? How do we use digital to fight unemployment?
Yeah, so when I started this journey, when I left my corporate job and I decided to get involved, I was advising various formalized funds as a corporate advisor, but that everybody needs to go and try and tackle youth unemployment. And that's why, I decided to get stuck and learn with Lebo through how to build and support the founder. If more old heads like us can actually go and support the young guys and get them that advice, etc., that's more the call to action here. So, but in the VC space, in the investment space, there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of cash or funding available further down the line, but there isn't enough support early stage, the seed investment, etc. There are good programs with government and that can help the founders come through, but a lot more can be done. Another big aspect within our world is creativity. We need more creativity because without creativity we can't solve these problems. So we have to find creative solutions to solve the problem. So being able to reach out to that 8 million people, that's not the bottom of the food chain. That's the top for me. Okay.
All right. I want to open up questions to the audience because I'm looking at the time like, hey, time really does fly. Time is really, really flying. And I'm just getting warmed up. I think it's time for us to open up a round of questions. If you would like to ask questions, please raise your hand. I'm going to definitely come to you there with this mic, and you can ask the audience questions. Do you have questions? Bazalwan. Questions going once, going twice. Okay, there's a question there. Right.
Thank you very much. My name is Pasekalo Solang from DG Aqua, and I would like to congratulate Lebogang for reaching this milestone. Upon the same breath, I would like you to give guidance to the entrepreneurs probably in the room or those who will have access to this platform to share some guidance on how would one transition from concept to this point in time where commercialization is a reality. You would understand that the statistics are very high and the odds of getting to this level. So for you to get here is quite an achievement. And not to mention the caliber of partners that you have managed to orchestrate along the way. Could you give guidance on how to do it and what not to do?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Paseka. So remember, to take the entrepreneurial journey also,
depends obviously on what you want to do. For myself, I'm a core engineer, I'm a software engineer, right? So what took long for me was that you wanted to become a jack of all trade. So I was lucky to meet up with Wesley because he's a CA. He's a numbers guy. So a numbers guy, then what he'll do is that he's going to look at your platform, and the first question that he's going to ask you is that how do you make money out of this thing? My job is to develop a system in this case. I don't think about commercialization at all. So that means that when you've got let's put it like this, academia also, let's not rule them out, right? Because it's good to partner with them because you are more focused on the product development, but you do not see the business development side of it, the marketing side of it. So now what do is that that's where now you need to connect the dots as entrepreneur. That I've got this particular platform. One of the key factors is that he's going to assist with the research also. Is this thing doable? It is something that anyone would look at it and invest on it. That's the first thing. Then from there are other development that has nothing to do with maybe from my side, it has nothing to do with software engineering. It has to do more with how do we emphasize people to start using your platform. But most important, how do we then get that R1? Because what he will say then is that from an investment point of view, at least I want to see R5, even if it's not 100,000, that R5 that someone is buying something. So you need to learn from that point that how do you do commercialization. Commercialization also in itself, there's no course in university about it. It's something that you have to learn. You have to understand how your competitor works. But then at the end of the day, after understanding how your competitor works, you also cannot price anything, calling something maybe 59 rand as an example. What will then happen is that, and I'm speaking about Wesley because to have a CA in your business is an expensive exercise, by the way. We all know the issues of CAs in the country or in the world. So he came at a time where I did not even understand how this business development thing works, right? And then from that transition, I now started focusing more on the business side, not the engineering side. That's where your MICTA comes in. You've got guys that can start working on the platform. So now you are more transitioning into leadership now, leading a team of people. And then at the same time, start looking at how can I now partner based upon the platform that I've developed. So the transition takes time. It's not a one-day thing. It takes a lot of research. You have example with IBM also. They assist you with design thinking because it's also all about all of those, understanding the market, the research itself. And that's how you most likely going to make it. Depending, we serve different entities in terms of what we are trying to do. I think Wesley want to touch something there. Oh, okay.
No, he didn't. All right. I think we are okay with questions. Okay, we've got a question there at the back.
Good afternoon or good evening, everybody. The sun is setting. So I have 3 questions I would like to ask. SA Tech Challenge is opening, Mr. Craig, and I want to find out from you, what is the process and what will this do for South Africa and the youth of South Africa? And to Marklin Road, I want to know, the Softmeet product launch today is phenomenal. It is music to our ears. But to go dataless in our industry, in the community, is it viable? Is it going to do something? Could you please extrapolate on that? And then coming back to cybersecurity, we want to meet Mr. Kevin from IBM. We really want to connect everybody from South Africa to all over. But how secure is our net for our children, especially our children?
Yeah, Kevin can start this one. Eh?
Unfortunately, South Africa is one of the countries in the world that has the most number of cybercrimes. That's the sad part. We seem to be a target from many other countries. There, if you look, lots of our kids are going online. And now there's so much of what we call finishing happening that they mimic a real situation, and even some of us actually go and click on those things. So it's so easy to get into trouble on that. I think if you look at cybersecurity and quantum cyber, there's a lot of technologies out there, software that can actually mitigate that. But you must also remember the people that are doing this, they have a day job like you and I. Like how you and I are trying to use innovation and technology to grow and transform the world, they are experts in their field how to actually corrupt that world. So, and because of technology going, we talk about the dark net. That's where you can go and get these cyber hacks. So what lots of companies are doing now, they're actually partnering, collaboration with those kind of people, because they're trying to get how they think and how you can actually, because cybercrime is not just a technology thing. You've got to be smart and understand the strategies and the techniques and the mechanisms they use to actually penetrate your system. So there's a lot of work being on that. The sad part is most of us have been, there's something that happened on cyber. Guess what? We don't know about it. We find out weeks later. So the question is, how do we build what we call proactive and preventative systems that can give you early warnings that there's a possibility you're going to get hacked, so you can do something rather than being retrospective. So this is, obviously from an IBM perspective, this is one of our core services. So we help a lot of organizations where we actually create a real situation with global companies, and we create scenarios where we don't tell them it's not real. We actually create the scenarios, and some people know about it, and the other people that are part of it don't. So they create the situation to kind of mimic what's happening to see how people react. And it's actually scary sometimes. People don't know what to do. So there's a lot of companies out there that are putting in place frameworks, strategies of how to build a cybersecurity or provide a safe and secure environment in your organization or at home to be able to, for people to transact. But at the speed at which we're developing, the same speed at which these hackers are coming up with new things. So it's something that that is continuous and needs to evolve and will continuously grow.
So also, the literacy between the cyber, knowing like cyber security, it's the small things, changing your password often, getting into systems that can flag out if maybe your system has been hacked, being careful around, public Wi-Fi per se, or any Wi-Fi that you get into. So I think the literacy for cybersecurity as well, it's important, not only for academics or students, but also for citizens, the effects as well of working with AI as well, and being in the web, because as much as technology is good, there's also the dark side of it. And I think it's important that, as citizen, we should educate, citizen about, the small things that, could potentially prevent you from a cyber attack. Thanks.
Let me speak about what the lady said about music to our ears. So let me get into the issue of data. It's a fact, data is an expensive exercise to buy. So to what we essentially did, let me put it like this. Softmeet was built on a thesis, basically. So when I was doing my master's, I was going around trying to understand what is the issue, why data is an expensive exercise in our country. So also, I come from that background of academia also, but transitioning to what I am now. Now, in terms of the data aspect also, we just didn't want to make Softmeet to be your normal chat application, because when we started going to schools, we firstly had a problem. One of the district directors said, we've got a lot of applications that are coming in our schools, and our kids are transitioning to a whole lot of different things there. So when we build the platform, we build the platform to a point whereby you don't really have to access other platform one for all. So that means that your kids, if you look at our ratings, they start from 12 years upwards. So if you look at your kids, if you look at your kids, the family at large, right, accessing Softmeet without data, that was the fundamental. That was our core to go to the market. On the basis that also South Africans also, they have adjusted to other platforms. So we needed to also be different. Offer because innovation is not like you have to be Albert Einstein at this age that we are staying on. You just look at the pie. What is it from that pie can I, grow my platform? You look at what are the problems currently the current platform has, and you look at how can you offer something better. In this case, it was data-free, right? But in closure is that process itself, there was a lot of research implemented on it. Why we did that research? Because it was very much important we did that research. We had to be backed by the research before we can initially start building the application. So basically the application was not built for the sake of building it. It was built on the basis of a research, which is a paper that can be peer-reviewed also at the same time why we built Softmeet. So when you are at Softmeet, you are not at the platform. You are actually at the platform where you can also do various things on it. So it means that when you look at Softmeet, it's a platform also, if you're not working, you can still make money out of it at the same time. You're looking at a platform that when you even share it, you generate revenue out of it if you're not working. So we also had to put the unemployment strategy also to implement it. So when you look at the data of it, it's not only about chatting, but it's the value that you can get when you use Softmeet on a daily basis. Thank you very much.
All right, yeah. One last question. Yeah. So this is the easy one for me. So the SA Tech competition is massive. Now it flows out, I think everybody knows that we've assumed the G20 presidency. And in 2023, in Bengaluru, and I think Lebo was there, in India, there was the second or third ICT SME challenge competition. We did very well there because we chose 6 from the Digitech program to go with the then Minister Mondi Gugubele, and one of them won on the global platform. That is fed into what we're doing. So Jeanette and I, when we assumed the presidency, we decided, let's do the same thing here, but bigger. But the SA Tech Challenge is a multi-departmental event. There's no way that we'd be able to handle something of that size on our own. And there's also a couple of public-private partnerships also involved inside there. TIA is also part of it. So why are we doing it? So we're the presidents of the G20. We also, our department, our minister is the head of the Digital Economy Working Group in this country. So in September, that group is going to meet for the final analysis of a document which will be launched then. So we thought it would be prudent to have this, a local competition. So the SA Tech thing is a local competition, only for people in South Africa. I don't think there's ever been a competition like this here where the first prize is $1 million. Now, I don't know about you, but I need that $1 million badly.
Where do I enter? Where do I enter?
My question
bring
exactly.
forms.
So, in fact, if you go into, so we're doing this in collaboration with DSI, the Department of Science and Innovation, and if you go to the satechchallenge.org.za, that's where you can actually enter. The reason why, so there's 6 different categories. So there's fintech, there is circular economy. It's not one thing. There's many, many different things that it covers. And in changing it a little bit from what happened in India, we try to make it much more inclusive also in that 6 different streams. So the first prize is R1 million, the second prize is 750, 500, and so forth and so forth. But the bigger outcome of that, if it was possible to be bigger, but the bigger outcome of that is that 6 the very best in this country, will then go into the global challenge. Yes, in September, where the best of G20 is going to be coming. So that's where we go up against India, America, China, all of those guys. And we want our guys, obviously, to have pride of place there. So that is why the competition is open. I think the closing entry, 30th of July. Yes, because we're going to be launching also over the next coming weeks a community radio campaign as well. That's going to happen because we want everybody that has an innovation that is worth it out there. Because I'll never forget what the former minister once told me. She said, we only have to be right once. And then we find that diamond in the rough, the Lebogangs. There's a number of them. And I've seen our guys of innovation. They're brilliant. They just need this platform. And that platform, so the local competition, feeds into the global competition. And that platform is worth gold. So we see this as government, again, as I said in the beginning, creating that platform for guys like Lebogang to take themselves forward. Thanks.
I had a question.
Do you have a question? No.
I had a question directed at me.
Yeah, there was a question, yes. Now that I remember.
I just want to say that as community radio, we are actually very excited about the Dataless initiative, and it will really, really help us. Because if you look at the model of community radio and the radius in which we get to transmit is only 1 watt at most instances. So now we are able to get our listeners to tune in via an app, and they can make use of that Dataless, and we can reach various distances. We can now be like a public broadcaster where you can be in Durban and listen to us. So yes, it's very exciting for us, and it's something we are looking forward to. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our panel discussion. Thank you so much to our esteemed panelist. Wesley, thank you so much for being part of this. Kevin, thank you so much. Palisa, it's been a pleasure, ma'am. Craig, thank you so much, bringing that energy. And Lebu, the reason why that all of us are here, thank you so much, and good luck, for all your future endeavors. And to Makulin, thank you so much for being part of this. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause. Yeah, I think we're going to have a closing remarks, right? We're going to have a closing remarks, and by Khoputso, right? Khoputso, where are you, my guy? All right. August phone.
Yeah, I wanted to stand behind this thing, but I'm very short. Yeah, I probably would you probably see my dreadlocks. As Softmeet and Softex, we really want to give thanks for everybody that else came here. You being present here is a memorial, or rather a testament of the journey that we have taken for us to get to where we are. I remember when we first began, Libza calling me from home. As we say, this platform has been built by people from the rurals, so we understand what we are trying to do. I'm from Kwakwa. Kwakwa, it's very far. You take the N3, on your way to KZN, you take a short ride off ramp, and you get to a very cold place called Kwakwa. That's where I'm from. So sometimes electricity is gone for something like 2 weeks. So no network, nothing, you're in trouble. But when he called up and said, this is an idea that we have, let's build this, it was an amazing opportunity for us to collaborate and get to where we are. And we saw the need for connectivity through that process. And when COVID hit us, it was very interesting. We had to strive. I had to run to town, go work because electricity is not at home, sit at a McDonald's and pretend to buy something, just buy a drink and work there. But it was an experience that we will tell for many years. We want to thank the department for being always there when we call, inviting us for opportunities to expand our horizon, to network, and to create more connections that matter in the future for us. Through it, we met a lot of people that we now collaborate with. for us to create impact in communities that we are trying to navigate through. IBM for sponsoring us also when we needed help, and we are thankful for them. They've done quite a lot for us. I see Brother Simpson here, who has helped us with the funds from IBM, help us navigate those funding, and MICCITA for helping us, teach us what it means for us to be leaders. You guys walking this journey with us is worth it. This is not the end, this is just the beginning. And we want to give thanks to everyone who came and showed up today as we launched this thing. The revolution has begun. Let's continue pushing. Data has fallen. Softmeet is here. Thank you, everyone.